Hello, my name is Erwin Eisenstein. Well, a lot of people call me Ironstone because that's a translation from Eisenstein. I'm here to talk today about a case, actually it's a series of cases, with someone who I'm friendly with, who has asked for a continuance. The reason she's asked for a continuance is she's gone through surgery and most likely will have to go through additional surgeries. And what has happened with this case is it raises issues related to the ADA, and what do you do if you have a plaintiff who really isn't physically able to represent herself as long as she doesn't get the surgery. Now, it leads to other issues as far as what do you do? In one case, Jeffrey Ashton dismissed the case. He acted as a doctor and said she wasn't sick. He said he went to the ADA office and they didn't have records. And of course, the ADA office indicated they don't keep records. I guess it's part of the federal law that says you can't retain records and you can't give them to other people. So the judge, Jeffrey Ashton, really screwed up in this case. And what do you do when you have a judge who screws up? You're forced to appeal, and it leaves a lot of areas open. I tried to make a complaint against him with the Committee on Judicial Accountability, but what happens is they don't investigate. One of the things that is available in most instances is the transcribers have recording devices in their machine. So that's available to others to listen to if they so desire. In this case, the judge didn't let my friend record, and that meant it places her at a disadvantage because she can't afford, and many people can't afford, the cost of transcribing hearings. In any case, my friend had a problem with her adrenal glands. There was a lesion there, and she needs additional tests because the adrenal gland is used for or controls metabolism, the immune system, blood pressure, and many other bodily functions. So that's an issue that's still open, and I'm not sure what's going to happen either at the 5th DCA or at the 9th Circuit. I do know I've seen a Florida Farm Bureau insurance company not pay for UM or UIM, which is uninsured motorist insurance, and one begins to wonder, is this something that insurance company does in order to save money and screw their own clients? And that's something that should really be handled by the legislatures, except one thing is the legislators are frequently bought off by insurance companies. So we don't really have a balanced system unless you've got money to pay for it. Okay, in this instance, my friend has sinus conditions, and very hard to make determinations because doctors are busy. They also don't want to get involved with insurance companies because it means they have to take their time off, possibly to testify, possibly to be deposed. In an earlier case, my friend had put in a claim for Florida Farm Bureau Insurance, who said, yes, we'll handle it, and guess what? They didn't handle it. So we're left with a case where the doctors and, well, the insurance company didn't even get a doctor in order to basically evaluate the situation. And that leads, well, they refused payment because they figured the longer it goes on, the more likely it is that a person isn't going to be wait and has to get some money from them and settle. Well, in this case, my friend didn't want to settle. She wanted the operation, which the insurance, well, the doctors who evaluated said would be about $70,000+. But if you have a problem and it's not taken care of, it gets worse, and that's what's happened to my friend. The other thing is, there are certain, I'd say, things that lawyers do, and when they do that, other lawyers don't report them. Not only don't other lawyers report them, I believe the Florida bar doesn't take complaints while it's an ongoing case, which is terrible. In other words, the group who's supposed to monitor lawyers isn't doing it, and other lawyers aren't doing it. As far as I'm concerned, the lawyer involved in this case, because my friend is pro se, is Matthew Scarborough of Tampa, and he worked for Florida Farm Bureau Insurance Company, and he did several things I thought were improper. Number one, he tried to set up a CME, which is a comprehensive medical examination. And what happens is with the CME, it's supposed to be in an area close to the person who was injured, because that person usually can't drive long distances. And the law allows for that with the Florida Civil Procedure and the statute. It's Florida Civil Procedure 1.360A1A. And what happened in this case, my friend refused to go back and forth, which is a 200-mile drive, and the doctors that you are selected in the CMEs, as far as I'm concerned, frequently sell their souls. That don't have to be the specialists that you go to on your own, but they're specialists picked out by the lawyer who works for the insurance company. In this case, it was Matthew Scarborough. So what he did is he canceled, well, my friend canceled the first insurance because she wanted it closer to her home, which the law allows for. The second one, Matthew Scarborough canceled, and he threatened, and he sent her a bill talking about gall. And I guess what you have to look for is, you know, how do you get doctors for compulsory medical exams, CMEs, which almost all defendants do, that are going to be fair? And the answer is you don't. the CME doctors usually are there not to do what's right, but to earn extra money from insurance companies, and they do. They're paid well. They don't necessarily specialize in the area where a person may in fact require an examination. In this case, my friend had a problem with her back, but rather than get a back doctor for the compulsory medical exam, they get doctors who aren't that way, and doctors who are looking for anything historically so they can get the insurance company out of paying. In this case, it was $100,000 for the insurance, but probably what's more important is just $70,000 or $80,000 for the surgery. So that's one thing that happens. With the doctors for the compulsory medical exam, frequently they don't specialize. They do it as a sideline. They get paid extra money by insurance companies. And if you look up CME doctors on the internet, you'll get some basis for what these doctors do or don't do. And I consider them medical prostitutes because they're not there necessarily to do what's the correct thing. They're there to get the insurance companies out of having to pay the compulsory medical examination fees and the which is uninsured motorist fees. After a person has something wrong with him or her, one of the problems is that it gets worse. It gets worse because it hasn't been cared for. And that's what's happened to my friend. And it's become a chronic condition, and it's very difficult to take care of. The other thing that I'm surprised no lawyers or sharks haven't looked at this, insurance companies try to get people to not accept payments, and when they're compulsory medical examinations, what it does is it forces one to delay and not necessarily take a settlement. What this does is push the person so that they're examined possibly by Medicare. And when that happens, there might be some issues related to fraud against the federal government and fraud against not the Social Security system, but against the healthcare system, because that's who eventually winds up taking care of people. The other thing, it's nice to notice that when you look at the doctors, many American doctors don't have the same training as doctors in other countries. So some people, several, go to doctors from other countries for these CMEs, not for the CMEs, but for medical exams, compulsory medical exams, because the doctors are more likely to give what they believe is a fair evaluation. Okay, I guess that's what I wanted to say about that. The other thing that has to be addressed is the ADA, which Americans with Disabilities Act. because currently courts, I believe, don't have a fast standard because they're trying to, well, the courts themselves are frequently trying to get rid of their dockets, especially if there's a backload. That means that people who are older, like me, frequently have to get their doctors approved prior to surgery, and that's a problem. What happens during the CME if you're examined by the insurance doctor? Number one, they're paid by the insurance company or the insurance company's lawyer. So he usually uses the same one over and over again. Why not? Because they have a relationship. Doesn't necessarily mean that the doctor is going to do a fair examination. In fact, many of them probably don't, because they want to get hired again. So I think that some of the CME doctors are medical prostitutes. Well, it's the same thing as lawyers. Lawyers, for example, I was sitting in and listening to a deposition. That's when a lawyer examines someone, and it's usually recorded, and there's also a stenographer. And what I found is if I was in the room, the lawyer acted differently than if I was not in the room. Another interesting factor was that in order to get me out of the room, the lawyer sent me a subpoena to depose me, probably because I was taking videos of the examination, both well, I would have done with the doctor, and I would have also then done it for the lawyer who was deposing my friend. And they don't want witnesses. They don't want the truth, because the truth is that the insurance companies are getting away with murder. And as far as the insurance companies, as far as UIM, which is underinsurance, and UM, which is no insurance effectively, are not being paid by the insurance company. I wonder how many insurance companies are paying UM insurance to their own clients. UM again is uninsured motorist insurance. I don't think they are, and it leaves lots of people not accepting settlements and not getting medical help for conditions that were caused by accidents where they were fully insured. Okay, let me sum up then. The lawyer for the other side isn't your friend. Don't think that he is. Your own insurance company is not your friend and will try to screw you out of the UM or uninsured motorists, because that can run $100,000 or a little less if you're having back surgery. Back surgery in the US usually does fusion. It's where they fuse bones, but it leaves you with problems after they do their surgery. In Germany, they use replacements, and they insert discs so that your back is much more flexible after it's been worked on by doctors. Okay, that's one area. And I'm going to cut this off for a minute. Okay, one of the things that I was thinking about is if we had universal medical care, people wouldn't be going for settlements with their insurance companies. They'd effectively be getting the operations that were required to get them healthy. Right now, there's a tug of war between lawyers, doctors, and the insurance companies. The insurance companies are probably one of the largest contributors to politicians. So one of the things that has to be done is you have to get the insurance companies outside of evaluation. And in one of the cases that I was reviewing, the insurance company took about 5 years before making any offer of settlement. And in that time, the person I know got worse and got worse. And it meant that she had to try to collect the uninsured motorist, and that hasn't happened, and I'm not sure what she's going to do eventually, but Medicare is probably going to have to pay for some of the operations because the insurance company failed to give her the insurance associated with uninsured motorist that she paid for, and that's a problem. Hello, my name is Erwin Eisenstein, Ironstone for those who want to, especially for those lawyers who want to misspell my name. Matthew Scarsborough, or what's his name? He has lied. I've seen him put in motions to try to get sanctions when in fact my friend showed up, and because she may have been exposed to COVID, the people where the deposition was being held told her to leave, and she then had to leave, and her lawyer then put in a motion for sanctions even though she was told to leave the deposition. He never took it out. He included that same motion with just about every set of papers that he submitted. That's why they say, you know, some lawyers are, what can I say, the scum of the earth, because that's true. And what happens is, when that happens, when lawyers don't go after their brethren, or when lawyers don't go after judges, you get a system that corrupts. And that, I think, has happened in too many auto insurance cases. Okay, again, I'll just say that my friend went through an operation. She's not great. She's had difficulty speaking. I email her occasionally and get a response, but a lot of people, after going through accidents, are effectively disabled. It's the only thing I can say. It takes a long recovery from recovering from an auto accident. Okay, I mentioned the insurance company, Florida Farm Bureau Insurance, which effectively didn't want to pay insurance for my friend. And it wasn't for her. They had to pay it to the doctor, because many doctors don't want to take cases unless they get something like a letter of assurance that it's going to be paid. Many insurance companies try to whittle down settlements with doctors, so doctors just try to stay away from auto insurance cases or auto accident cases. I wonder whether the Department of Insurance ever reviews, number one, contributions that insurance companies make to politicians, and whether they in fact take a look at the amount of money that the insurance companies pay out. Chances are they don't. Another issue that's come up is one that has to do with the Ninth Circuit, which is a court system in Orlando. And what happens is, I've seen a judge who I felt acted, and I'll give his name, it's Jeffrey Ashton, who started out with a bias against pro se litigants. He basically went to the ADA office in the court, and he said there were no medical papers there, and lo and behold, there's no medical papers in the ADA office because they get rid of them. I think that has to do with HIPAA, a federal law that says you're not allowed to give out medical records. So instead of saving them, they just get rid of them, and the judge accused my friend of not submitting them. Bad move by a new judge. Right, Judge Ashton? I'm not sure how to resolve that problem, but I think if the judge wants medical records, he can order them, and he did order them, and they were delivered like 3,500 pages worth of 4,500 pages to a lawyer, and that lawyer was the insurance company's lawyer, and that was Matthew Scarborough. And he had those records, but instead of telling the judge, he pushed in the other direction, saying she hasn't done enough. I think that Scarborough has acted improperly and unethically as a lawyer. And I'm not going to put in a bar complaint against him because I don't think they're going to do anything about it. I, by the way, did take the Florida bar and passed the written part. I did it when I was 65 or so. But the Florida Board of Bar Examiners said that I had acted inappropriately 15 or 20 years ago when I was going through a divorce. And when I was going through a divorce, I learned that judges lie. My. And nothing happens to them. The committees that are supposed to review the conduct of judges never really do a reasonable review. And that means that we as members of the public are getting screwed. Now, I can make suggestions there, and one of the things is if someone files a complaint, talk to them and see what they saw. I mean, I saw Judge Ashton yell at my friend. I saw him control her. I saw him act as a doctor and said that she doesn't look sick to him. He hasn't gone to medical school, so I'm not sure where he's coming from, except I know that he didn't act appropriately in this case. He didn't let a jury resolve the issue. He was the one who made determinations, and some of them were wrong. He listened to the lawyer, Matthew Scarborough, who basically didn't even supply discovery to my friend related to the accident, related to Florida Farm Bureau, who effectively didn't want to pay any UM or UIM coverage. Okay, so what do we do with the ADA? One thing you can do is you can have a civil Gideon. You can have independent doctors examine someone, not prostitutes or medical prostitutes who are hired by insurance companies. Usually, a person's doctor is more likely to write something that's relevant and true, because if he doesn't, the person's going to come back for additional exams. Insurance doctors for these CMEs, the compulsory medical exams, are going to find, if they can, anything that's wrong with a person, because the insurance company will then hire them again, and that's not good for the public at large. The insurance lawyer, Matthew Scarborough, didn't include any medical reports in his settlement offer, which means he is also making basically an evaluation about a medical condition, and he's not a medical doctor. When that happens, I'm surprised that the medical profession in Florida doesn't go after these lawyers. Okay, that's about all I'm going to say, and thank you for listening to me. Again, name is Erwin Eisenstein, and thank you again. The other thing that should happen is video recording should be available, because it allows people to listened to what went on in court, including a judge yelling, including a judge directing someone, usually the plaintiff if they're pro se, and it's a slanted case that we have. And I'm glad there are some lawyers out there who are getting reasonable, if not high, settlements, because people who are in car accidents are basically in pain for the rest of their lives. Thank you. Once again, I think that I have to question Judge Ashton, who didn't have, or if he was given medical records, didn't use them. And that certainly is not what a judge should do. The jury should be the ones who are making determinations about injuries. That didn't happen with Ashton. One of the problems is, if the judge wants to terminate a case, the person should be given a lawyer, just as in criminal cases, because that person will have to live with the result of whatever is found in that court for the rest of their lives. And that just isn't a fair proposal.